Hi, it's Geoff Grace with the Grace Real Estate team at Remax Hallmark here in Toronto. And I want to talk to you about the Toronto real estate market and COVID, specifically where we've been, where we are, and where it looks like we're going. So, where we've been, 2020 started off with a huge rush in real estate. Our prices were up significantly in January and February, and market activity was very strong. What happened in mid March is the real estate market started to feel the effects of COVID, just like every market around the world. And what we saw was a lot of uncertainty in the market as to hosting open houses and doing showings, what was right, what was wrong. Our last listing to sell before COVID really hit sold on March 17th. We got 5 offers, a bidding war, and it sold for a great price. But the weekend prior to that, we held an open house right when people were not sure if open houses should be held or not. And what we did was we did one-on-one showings. So instead of letting a number of people into the home, we only allowed one person in at a time. We asked them to wash their hands immediately when they came in the open house, and we kept a safe distance from them in the property. The owners were not living in the home. They'd already moved out at that point, and they were fine with that process. But after that, our brokerage had actually decided to shut down open houses fully. And then the government followed suit afterwards, banning them in Ontario. And the Ontario Real Estate Association, our governing body in Ontario, came out on March 24th and asked all realtors to stop face-to-face appointments with their clients unless absolutely necessary. So if someone had sold their home and still needed to purchase because they were going to end up homeless, then you could proceed with that with caution. But generally, they did not want us having any face-to-face appointments. And I'm going to show you a chart here from the company that does our front desk booking software. And this shows you the activity in the real estate market, the number of showings booked on every property on a given day through February. And it goes up and down because of the weekly cycles of showings. But as you saw, it was trailing up during February. And then by about mid-March, this is March 14th, this is about when we sold our listing, things came down. And we were in this new low until the Ontario Real Estate Association stopped showings, and then it hit a further low. And the reason there is not because buyers didn't want to buy houses or there was fundamentally something wrong with them buying. It was because the government told everyone to stay home. And our governing body told real estate agents not to show homes. And so while we're doing virtual showings and virtual open houses with floor plans and 3D video tours, et cetera, it's a great way to continue to market our properties. Most buyers don't want to buy a property without stepping foot in it. So you saw this new low, and this here has really been the Toronto real estate market trickling along during COVID times relative to what it would be in a traditional spring. We would probably be up in this range here. But the next slide is really interesting. That's where we were. That's where we've been. This is the market pre-COVID. This is when COVID hit. And this is where we are now. And that next slide takes this low point and blows it up and actually shows you that we're beginning to see the weekly peaks of showings and the weekly lows of showings all trending upwards. So buyers are feeling a bit more comfortable going to look at homes. I think it's a lot to do with organized real estate coming together and determining safe protocols on showing homes. I think it also has a bit to do with the news reports out there talking about that we've reached the peak, that hospitals are not overrun, that cases in Ontario have been down for the last 4 days in a row, for example. So I think people are starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel. Obviously, showings are not peaking back up to these levels again, but they are slowly increasing. And that's a good sign for the market in general. And it'll be interesting to see how the market moves forward as the government begins to open up certain industries. It's my belief that once people can go to a playground with their children, once restaurants open, although maybe with precautions that weren't there prior to COVID, with spacing between tables, etc., once life comes to some sort of normalcy, then people will be back out looking at homes strongly. And there's a lot of demand because all of this month or so that we've been in, or month and a half that we've been in lockdown, combined with whatever future lockdown we still have ahead of us, there's all these families that traditionally would have moved during those times who still want to move. And I think what we're going to see is the second half of the year actually be very, very strong in the market. We're probably going to do a heck of a lot more sales in the second half of the year than we normally do because we'll have all of this pent up demand. That's just a guess. I'm not a medical expert. I'm not an economist. We'll see what happens. But to me, that's what makes sense. And having seen ourselves go through market dips in the past, obviously not COVID related, but economic related and 9/11, we saw this immediate pullback and then a slight lull, and then the market took back off again. This is also showing us showings for the fourth week of March in blue compared with the fourth week of April. So the fourth week of March, remember, is right after the Real Estate Association shut down showings. So that was our low point. So our number of showings now in the fourth week of April were considerably higher. And in fact, the showings were up 63%. The registered offers were up 47%. The new listings were down, although the number of sales were down. So the interesting thing there is with offers registered being up, but sales being down, we're seeing a lot of offers being put in on homes that aren't being accepted. Whereas pre-COVID, buyers would come in with an offer and it would generally be strong and the seller would sell it. I think there's a lot of people looking for value in the marketplace right now and testing sellers to see if they'll sell at lower numbers. And that's what we're seeing in the difference between the registered offers and the number of sales. And then when we look at a week over week within the April 17th to 23rd versus the 24th to 30th, we're also seeing that increase. And what that looks at in numbers is a 19% increase in showings, a 23% increase in registered offers, 8% new MLS listings, 16% exclusive listings, and 4% increase in solds. So this is our new norm. We're seeing week over week increases. It's not spiking. It's not rocketing off. The market's not taking off. But for someone who really has to sell their house at this time, it's not a bad time to sell. We're seeing market confidence increase. And we're seeing prices that, although lower than a month ago or a month and a half ago, rather, are still good prices. January and February were extremely strong, and those prices have fallen back. In March, when a lot of the panic selling occurred, we saw prices drop by about $100,000 on most freehold homes. But in reality, that $100,000 drop is really just taking homes back to what they were worth in November and December anyways. It was really only January and February where the market spiked and prices rose by the 100,000. And we're not having bidding wars as much anymore, although there are some. We had clients participating in a bidding war in Little Italy last week. Sellers just need to recognize that putting their house in the market right now might look a little bit different than they're used to over the last couple of years. But as we can see from this chart, there still are buyers out there looking, and there's still sales happening. So if you have any questions, give us a call. My cell is 416-319-4761. Hope you're well. Look forward to talking to you soon.